Hey, y'all, welcome to another episode of Soccer for Us. I'm Bart, and on this episode, we're talking about a political power play that could forge a new path between two confederations, some fresh faces who are knocking on the door of the USMNT, and some hot takes floating around the USMNT Twitterverse. To discuss all of this with me is a man who is single-handedly solving the USMNT's goalkeeper problem. It is Thomas, aka US Keeper. Thomas, we got any new goalkeepers coming up? They're going to be ready by 2030 or not?
I don't know. I tell you, I'll give a shout out to goalkeeper I've been working with. Actually, two of them that both had phenomenal first games of the season this weekend up here in Maine. I've been working with them for about a month, and just the confidence that they're both having. And this is one thing I love about coaching. When you coach something with people that are so coachable, and then you see it in action in a game, like, to me, it's hard to explain. I mean, I see it with my daughter all the time because she's constantly doing it. But when it's someone else that's not your child, it's a little bit of a different, like, okay, they were listening, they wanted to learn, and so it's a cool thing. It's a cool thing. So I'm happy to have that experience. I'm having that the parents are trusting me, to coach their goalies, and yeah, it's fun to watch. And they both got wins over the weekend. So the two goals scored were both a little bit unlucky on their part, but they both won pretty easily, 3-1 and 5-1. So, and my daughter actually played in both of those games. One first 11v11 for her, which she scored and assisted in, and she's only 10, and she had 2 goals and an assist in the other game. So it was a fun yet busy Sunday for us.
That's awesome. That's one of the toughest things to kind of coach into a kid at that age, is that, hey, like, you're going to get scored on. It sucks at that age. And up until, I mean, really, you're playing real soccer. Like, goals are going to happen. And now making his triumphant return to Soccer for Us podcast is a man whose MLS side has won 3 matches in a row, but his Premier League team is still in a relegation battle. It is Caleb Cook, aka USMNT Corner. Caleb, welcome back. Glad to see your face again. I know you've been busy with coaching and teaching and all the things. Glad to see your face again. Glad to hear your voice again.
All the things. And believe it or not, I'm just as busy, if not busier. Just started my master's over the summer. Moving up in the ranks. Now we're doing three practices a week. It's that's the life we live. As far as my MLS team winning 3 in a row, was it 3 in a row for the first time in 5 years?
Yeah,
half a decade. Come on,
league
now.
Matches,
what are we doing?
League matches, yeah,
league matches. And then, I keep all my students are just crushing me. Tottenham barely surviving, and then starting off with another loss. That's just, I think Rob put, he said something about there's got to be someone out there who is a Atlanta United fan, Falcons fan, and a Tottenham fan. He was like, and I feel so bad for that person. I was
it's
just
you.
like, dude,
oh man,
you killed me. But it's good to be back. It's good to be back.
Yeah. Well, glad to have you. We've got a big piece of news that broke toward the end of last week and over the weekend. The Guardian has reported that UEFA and CONCACAF has had talks to set up a combined Nations League tournament. Now, I think this is just another stone falling away from Gianni Infantino's foundation of power over FIFA. UEFA and CONCACAF were looking at how to put their 96 member associations into one competition starting as early as 2028. Both confederations still do operate a Nations League tournament. Obviously, the US is the best in the Nations League in CONCACAF. But this, to me, Thomas, feels like it's a direct challenge to FIFA by kind of creating their own, not World Cup, because it's a different format, which kind of is cool, but their own World Cup-esque type tournament, biennial, so every 2 years, which might be cool. I don't know. I mean, what was your initial thought when you saw this kind of come across the news feed?
I was like, yeah, this would be great. And then you start thinking logistically how it's going to work, right? Like, And because they're it's just how is it going to look with logistically? I mean, again, I envision it a little bit differently. Maybe
Mm.
you take the top whatever teams in CONCACAF and say they earn a spot, and then and then you allow the other nations leagues to take place in CONCACAF because part of the reason for the CONCACAF Nations League was so that teams got more exposure and opportunities to win trophies. Well, if we've seen anything from the 3 or 4 iterations that we've had, it's US men's national team and Mexico. Really, Canada's in the mix, but like we're not seeing really anything to really help these lower level groups maybe have that opportunity to play in a bigger confederation tournament and maybe play. So maybe there's the top 6, top 8 teams, whatever it is, get to compete in some format of whatever this combined confederation nations league tournament's going to look like.
I think a lot of people were like, oh my God, this is great. And I'll just be honest, I saw this as a power play. That these two confederations that are kind of leading the charge against Gianni Infantino as president of FIFA, this seemed to me as them saying like, well, screw you. We have the capability of doing this. So this is our way to kind of, throw a middle finger at you. Hey, we're going to do this instead. I don't think this would replace at all a World Cup, but it could bring a lot of revenue to these confederations. So let's kind of dig in a little bit deeper to what is exactly being proposed. The draft plans would have the league phase played during the existing September, October, November windows. So that would be 6 total matches in that league play. And then the knockout matches would be the quarterfinals in March and then the semifinals and finals in June. And if I'm correct, the quarterfinals would be a 2-legged tie, the way that Europe does it, and kind of the way the CONCACAF does it, but we don't have automatic qualifiers from what has been proposed, I've seen. So for those who don't know, the Nations League is basically all the teams in one confederation. This would be both of them competing in the same competition, but broken into leagues striated by rankings, basically. UEFA has 16 teams in their top 3 leagues. CONCACAF has a weird formula that I'm not going to get into, but it basically you have League A that is the one competing for the trophy, and then the lower leagues are competing to try to get into League A. So you do have promotion relegation. And again, obviously the US has competed in this. We've really only competed in one true format, and that's kind of a CONCACAF's fault, where we don't really have the group stage anymore like we used to. I think we did 2 of those like that. But the last couple of editions, we've been fast-tracked to the quarterfinal round, as we will again this time. So we don't really get the group stage feel. In UEFA, everyone does it. They don't prioritize teams just because they might be slightly better. They don't give people handouts like that, like we do to USA, Canada, Mexico, and whatever team's 4th right now. I guess my question, Thomas, is does this even make sense for a 96 team? I think it's 95, 96 teams over the 2 confederations. Like, does that even make sense?
No, I don't think it does. I mean, it's to me, it's too watered down, and I think I'll go back to my point earlier that I think you're going to have maybe a handful of, again, maybe you have to qualify on, like the US has, the CONCACAF has this next Nations League, right, which is going to be played in top 4 teams qualify, or the top 8 teams qualify, right, to be able to play in it, and then the other piece continues. They're going to have another CONCACAF Nations League that won't include those 4, 6, 8 teams, and they get that spoils. And to me, that would be, I don't know if it would help create the lower teams an opportunity to be able to push and say, geez, we'd love to play in this tournament.
So your proposal would be, sorry, I'm going to pause you for a second. If we're doing 2 each cycle, because that's kind of how this cadence works, right?
Right.
The first one would be CONCACAF Nations League and your top 8. Let's just take that number. would then go play and then whoever, all of the nations from Europe, I don't know, then they would go to the European Nations League, or in the next cycle. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm saying so. You maybe 4 in the top division, 4 in the bottom division. Balance it out, and they have that chance to do that. Because you think about it, if we're expanding the World Cup, right? We do not have enough matches for any of the CONCACAF teams against better nations.
No.
We just don't have that, and there's not enough. There's just not enough teams. I mean, I think 8's a lot when you think about it. I mean, if you take the best 8 years, whatever it is, for every CONCACAF team, you're still going to have US, Canada, up on the tops in terms of the best finishes of anything in general. You're not 8's a lot. And I think that if you're looking to grow soccer in the world, teams need to be playing against better quality opponents and giving them that opportunity. So it does 2 things. It says here's your top 8, whatever it is, right? They get a chance to play probably on the road, which I think is fine. I have no problem with them going to Europe and playing on the road. I guess it's not real. I mean, it's, be able to have a neutral site match.
I get what you're saying though.
For their
but
home.
Yeah,
because logistically, I think that'd be. But I think that benefits the U.S. It certainly benefits Canada to be able to travel and play at a high level away from home, where we've kind of just become, it's kind of the standard. I mean, it's really quite sad because we just don't play enough road matches that have that level of intensity. Think about being able to do that. Go over to Europe and play not a friendly, but a match that matters, right? That has implications to something bigger that none of these CONCACAF teams probably ever seen, right? And I think that to me is going to help the top teams. It's going to help any fringe teams, and then let those other teams continue battling in CONCACAF, and they're going to grow within that, right? They're going to have the confidence, and maybe they get into qualifying for the Gold Cup consistently, and that allows for just the growth of CONCACAF to make it a stronger confederation when you expand to 64 teams, because that's coming either next World Cup or the following one. It's going to be there, and what we want to see, I think, everywhere is we want to see those teams compete. We don't want to see a 10-0 result. We want to see exciting soccer, and I think that's the growth of it. If you're really looking at it from the larger scale of it, not the vindictive scale of it, I think I think there's some benefits to that. And I mean, selfishly, as a U.S. fan, I want to see them play better matches. I want to see them play harder opponents along the way in different environments. We'll see if there's a format involved in how that's gonna, because I think 90 some odd teams is crazy. I just don't think that's a sustainable thing.
What were your initial thoughts, Caleb, when you saw this come across Twitter or whatever? I mean, kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I think the first thing is, like, that's amazing competition, right? Right off the bat, it's fantastic competition. But at the same time, then you kind of start looking a little bit deeper. It's also kind of, in my opinion, it could take away from the special moments and matchups that we get in a World Cup, right? Like, yeah, you might play some friendlies, but there isn't competitive matches, generally speaking, between CONCACAF and UEFA. And so those are amazing moments in the World Cup. And so this is just another tournament to add. I mean, we're also talking about overload on these athletes as well. I mean, these guys are playing unbelievable amounts of games now. The minutes on their legs, it's just one of those, like, I would love it as a fan. If I'm a player, do I like it? Is it going to just water down competition or water down the potential matchups that we only get every 4 years? Or I don't know. It's just kind of one of those, like, iffy, cool, awesome, great, don't know about it. I don't know. It's like a burger that McDonald's puts out, and you're like, could be amazing and might also be terrible. Is that fair to say? Like, I don't know exactly how to feel about it.
No, I think that's kind of my consensus of people who live in a world outside of Twitter, is that when you kind of take 2 steps to think about this, you go, wow, that's cool. Wait, how does this work? Because, kind of as Thomas said, like 96 teams or whatever it is, like that's a lot of
Yeah, I
people.
think it's 96.
I can't imagine that being a combined tournament. I just can't, right? So, is it 8, the top 8 from CONCACAF do make, a combined tournament? Maybe that's it. I don't know. I'm going to also say I don't think it's realistic that this launches in 2028. I know that like where there's a will, there's a way, but I think the problem is like both UEFA and CONCACAF have their qualifying schedules. So I'm not even sure how, that could play into things because how do you just upend your qualifying schedule that you've already set
Yeah.
for a tournament that still is happening at 2030?
Could be a logistical nightmare. I mean, the calendar's already packed anyways, like you said. And then, I haven't seen, did they propose how often they would do this? Is that out there?
So the report from the Guardian does say biennial, right? So a every 2 years. But again, I'm with you. It's like, are we really doing this as a full thing every 2 years? Because I'm just saying, like, and not that they necessarily deserve to like rise rapidly, but like looking at I don't know, a team like Trinidad, and they're just the first one that came off to my top of my head. They're flirting with 80 in the world. So they're probably going to be in league like D when it comes to this expanded tournament, maybe, farther. I don't even know how many leagues they're going to have. I mean, do they even have a realistic expectation to get to even the second league? I don't, because I'm with you. It's like, I mean, the thing about this is it can't replace a World Cup, but it can make a lot of headlines like a World Cup can. Maybe that's just what, I mean, that's to me just what their goal is here.
I think it could be, you could look at it like it dilutes the World Cup, right? Because you're going to get some of the similar matchups,
which might be their goal.
Which absolutely. When you look at it and what everybody saw as far as the World Cup this past summer and the amount of money that was made, I mean, just unbelievable. What was it, like 13 billion or something? Just incredible amounts of money. The people that are in charge of all of this, that we are fans of the game. We watch the game. The people that are in charge, they might have started out as fans. They are business people. And there is a cash cow to be made with the sport of soccer. So any type of competition, like the expansion of the Club World Cup, newer and more international tournaments, just all of this stuff, you have to think like, what's the real end game here to give us better competition to view as a fan? And that's not their goal. So that's why I'm kind of just like, I don't know. It's like, it's lukewarm. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not going to watch, like I'm going to watch. I don't know. Do we need it? That's kind of where I'm at.
Thomas, I think that's we just hit it, right? Like it's a money thing. And the Guardian article says that like all 96 members of UEFA and CONCACAF would be involved and much of the revenue would be pooled. I'm assuming there's prize money, but like, yeah, to Caleb's point, this is going to be on TV and Fox already has the rights to both, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, that's got to be even more money that Fox is going to have to pay to keep these rights between the two. I mean, on top of sponsors and I'm sure they're going to look at posting a final somehow in the US. I mean, there's money to be made. And it feels like, again, this isn't about, for me, I want to see if you agree. It's not about, oh, this is better for the sport, because we can get into if this is actually better for UEFA. It seems like it's just about, okay, how do we make more money and take a little bit of that shine away from the World Cup?
Yeah, because I mean, to me, there is an appeal to it, but then just bring back Confederations Cup with 16 teams, right? Like, I mean, to me, that's a better tournament, right? Like in general, like bring that back, like, and then you can still make your money, right? You still make your money. You still get teams from other confederations. To me, that's it. You just do it that way, and I think I think that satisfies a lot of that. If you want to make more money to do that, to me, I'm sure the FIFA World Cup, Club World Cup made a lot of money, um, and obviously that's replaced Confederations Cup. But I do love international soccer, and so, but I love the blending of the nations. To me, that's what makes it special, and that's one of it was so special to have the Confederations Cup a year
Yeah.
before the host country and all those sorts of things. So, you want money, just do it that way. And I think they can both stand alone for the most part. Um, and I'm sure they can figure scheduling out too,
Mhm.
yeah, to make it work. But
I think my question, and I want your take on this, both of y'all, is I think we all agree that there is a lack of truly meaningful games for the US because unfortunately, even a lot of our qualification, like the first round of qualifying that will start next year, is going to feel very low stakes. And I hate to say that, but it's just the reality. Like we're going to be drawn against most likely teams like Antigua, Barbuda, the Bahamas, and no shade at those teams. I'm just saying that, like the reality is we should beat St. Vincent and the Grenadines like we do every time, 5-0. It just is reality. So does it is it good that we just have more meaningful matches? But I think I want to caution, and this is my real question is, yeah, we'll have more. If you look at the schedule, that means basically every match would be some sort of competition, be it World Cup qualifying or Nations League. Is that actually good?
I mean, I think first off, if you're expanding to 64 teams, I think they have to reform every confederation, look at it specifically, and say, hey, look, what makes sense? Does CONCACAF still need 2 Gold Cups? Do we have to have these other confederation tournaments outside of FIFA windows for the Asian and the African confederations, like all these different things in general? I think that has to be looked at if you're looking at that from a whole, because it is changing it up. It's not just for CONCACAF. I mean, I think there is some value to having matches where there's something at stake, and we saw that in this last cycle. When not having that, it also does create an issue if you want to bring in a player that's a dual national that may not want to be capped right away, but they can play in a friendly and have no issues. But they can't play if you're locked into everything. How does that work? And I think that is a little limiting. If that's only a small window of time, I think you need those matches every year to be able to bring in players. They look here, you're coming to a camp, you get a chance to play if you want. You're not cap tied if you play, type of thing. And I think that's a consideration that has to be looked at.
Yeah, Caleb, I guess my stance is not everything being competitive on the international stage is good because when do you practice?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things I was talking about earlier. Like, just the everything becomes so condensed. Everything is so like if everything's competitive, like to Thomas's point, yeah, like a friendly allows you to just kind of maybe try some things or pull a guy up, let him get integrated with the team without high stakes. So I think that those types of matches still have a place, right? Um, when it comes to like the logistics, like we were talking about as far as travel, how much time you're um, taking away from club. They're already playing all these games for club. They have FA Cups, Leagues Cups, Campeones Cups. Like depending on what league you're playing in, you're already doing all that. Then you're going to have FIFA windows when call ups are not blocked, but then you still have youth tournaments where they are blocking them. So you have some kids moving in, some or young kids moving in, some senior teams playing, but now they're not. Then you have are they fit? Now you're playing super powerful teams in Europe. Like I don't know. I just think there's so much going on, and I know everything that I said just sounds like a bunch of mess thrown at a wall. But to me, like that's what it looks like when you try to make sense of all this. Like, do you see what I'm saying? I get what they want to do. I get oh, there's more opportunity to play better competition, right? We all want that. Uh, Playing these European nations in a friendly, is great because you are facing the competition, but it isn't as real
Mhm.
as it is in, say, like obviously in a World Cup or Olympics. Unfortunate Olympics are a youth tournament, so it gives that opportunity. But my thing is like we just witnessed 48 teams in a World Cup over the summer. Are like you saw some smaller nations have incredible runs. They're not getting those types of matchups regularly. So do you have to have those, right? And again, I think we've already said it. This isn't about competition. This isn't about trying to make sure that all these nations get the best opponents and oh, the players are gonna develop. That's not what this is about. And so that's why I'm just kind of like,
Mhm.
like I said, I don't want to say I'm sour on it, but I don't think it's necessary. I think it's way too much, and these players are already uh, overplayed, anyways.
Mhm. Mhm.
So if it's
I
me, I'm a pass on it.
I think why I'm a pass is I think you made a great argument because there's just so many things that I go, I don't really think this makes as much sense as people think it does. Again, take 2 seconds to get off of Twitter and think about what is happening. And I don't mean to attack Twitter, I'm on it all the time, but I'm just saying like the reaction of wow, this is cool. You gotta then think about it.
Yeah,
And the more I think about it, I just go, y'all, this is to me, this reads as like I said, a political power play to kind of get one over on Gianni Infantino. I don't really think this makes sense for CONCACAF and UEFA to combine in this way. It doesn't make sense to me. Um, all right, let's move on to our next topic, which could mean some rate competition for these guys. But let's move on to talking about what we actually know is going to happen, which is that we have 4 matches for the USMNT in September, October. Things that we actually know are going to transpire within the near future, not some sort of weird scheme. This is going to be the first time that we've had a long window like this that doesn't precede a tournament. And I think this is a unique opportunity, not just for the coaching staff, but the players who are going to potentially be called up. We had a little bit of a news report break today. Edgar on Twitter, who is pretty well connected within the CONCACAF spaces, said that his tweet said, quote, the senior USMNT team and the U23s will be training in the same facilities for the upcoming FIFA international break, which will have 4 games total. It's highly possible that the senior staff will be taking some U23 players in for some of those friendlies. So this kind of sparked for me like a lot of questions in my head. And the first is that how are we differentiating between a U23 player and a senior national team player? Because to me, it's not just about age. Like to me, I think there are skill levels. But this new cycle means new players, right? We are in a new cycle. We actually have a coach in place for this new cycle, which is the first time we've had that in 2 freaking cycles. Which means that you have the potential to actually, in my opinion, start turning over more stones, especially more than Mauricio Pochettino had back in his first time around, where he had such a short run up to a World Cup. My question to you, gentlemen, before we dig into this is how much do we need to lean into a complete turnover of the national team? And then how much do we need to lean into bring in the young kids to the national team? Because again, U23 doesn't just mean, oh, well, you're 22, so you're in that group. I don't know, Thomas. I mean, like I love it. Don't get me wrong. I love this idea. Like bring in all the guys. But I'm just wondering how much is this like, are we just gonna see the same national team that took the field in at the end of July in July? Like I don't want that.
I mean, look, I look at it. I mean, Caleb, he deals with all the time with club teams. If you've got a player that's good enough and you think that can fit somewhere in, you bring them in. Like, there's not like, well, they're, like a 16-year-old's tough. I will say there is, on the roster. But I'm sorry, but if you feel
We'll
like the
talk about
players,
that 16-year-old. Yeah.
right? But if you talk about that and say, okay, can this player fit in with this group if they're 2 or 3 levels there? Because the reality is, if they're good enough, the club's not going to release them for the Olympics. They're just not. So to me, you're building. You have to, and they did it right the last Olympics for the most part. They were able to make
I
it
agree.
work in terms of most of those players being released and playing in the Olympics. But I think that's part of the questions you have to ask and where they fit in. Because if you feel they're going to be able to get into this cycle, even in the second half of it after the Olympics or after Copa America, then I think you bring them in, because that's really where a lot of these players, for the most part, are going to, from a teenager perspective, are going to make their
Yeah.
impacts.
So let me ask you then, are you like pitching that right now? Look, we'll put Justin Ellis from Orlando as an example, right? He's 20, I think. He's younger, right? He's definitely in the you could go to the Olympics camp. Are you talking to Orlando City right now saying, hey man, we see this person, this player, as someone we would really like to be a part of our Olympic squad come 2028? Are you having that conversation now so that the club is understanding of like, okay, if we release him for this camp, even though it's in an international window, we are not necessarily committing, but we understand that the potential for summer 2028, he'll be gone? Are you like having
I
that
think
conversation right now?
you have to. You've got to build the continuity with the team, right? You've got to have your
Okay.
20 whatever players and say, this is the group of players that they've got to find that out here, so they can go ahead and have those camps and build that continuity and have a chance to really compete. And we all want them to win a medal. I mean, 1904, where the hell it is, and that's a whole weirdness of the 2 Olympic medals we won in that World Olympics, but very different time. But in doing that, you have to build that. They did it the last Olympics, where they had a similar group of players, and they were able to have some success in doing that, and qualified forever. And I think that's what U.S. Soccer really needs to be diligent about in finding out, what the opportunity is going to be there. Obviously, he can get transferred between now and then, and their agreement's only as good as the club that they're working with at the moment. But that's my thoughts, because you can't just put a U23 team out there of MLS players and go with. We've seen how that works. It just doesn't.
Yeah, Caleb, I guess kind of similar question, maybe not quite as specific, but how are you looking at this from the senior national team of, okay, well, we have some bright young stars. What do you think is that differentiation between, okay, we think you're a U23 Olympic player versus, yeah, you're a senior national team player?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm a high school coach, right? Like, I don't like when freshmen make varsity, right? Because
Totally.
if the varsity is strong, then a freshman coming in probably shouldn't be able to compete. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm against freshmen being there if they can compete, if they can actually make a difference. We had Javon Mussenden, who was called into the U20s. His freshman year, he came in, and I mean, there was no doubt. Absolutely, this guy's starting. He's the freaking top 2, top 3 player on the team as a freshman. So when you look at these kids who are U23, they're youth national players. I don't care what age they are. Can they compete at the senior level? I know we're going to talk about Kevin Sullivan later, but like, is 16 years old. If it's just calling him up for a gimmick, then no. But that's obviously not the case with what he's doing with Philadelphia. He's easily always top 5 player on the field the last few times that I've watched him play. I mean, he's making things happen. So can he do that? Is he going to be someone that you want down the road? And if it is, he wants to start building that, like Thomas said, you want continuity with the team. I think the weird thing is we don't really know what to expect from Poch with a full cycle. He came in, 21 months, right? 20 months, something like that. He had less than 2 years. I know that. So his whole thing was, let's onboard these guys as quickly as possible. Let me figure out who these American players are. and then he was just kind of tinkering and experimenting to figure out, who he had, what he wanted to do, how he wanted to do it, to the, honestly, to the frustration of us fans often, right? Like, but again, he didn't know. Now he's got a much better idea of the players that he has, the player pool, the American prototypical player, and he's got 4 years. So I don't think this is a, "Hey, we know who you are, we don't wanna see you." I don't. I think there were obviously some fringe bubble players that maybe you don't call up ever again, and they might have been a part of the World Cup squad. But I think there's a core that these young players that we want to bring up, you have to integrate them with that core, because whether we want them to or not, they will be there in 2030. So what's the point of calling all these young kids up if they're not going to learn to play with those guys that are going to be there?
I think it's hard because, okay, looking at these players right now and trying to project if they're going to be a member of the 2030 squad or even in that like 55 player roster is hard. Because again, some of these guys are 17, 18 years old. And the reality is careers don't always go as planned, right? I'm kind of with y'all of like, if he's good enough now, then he needs to be called up. But there are a couple that I think are in the, well, if we have the opportunity to get him in camp, and we bring him in camp at the U23 camp because, hey, you're 18 years old and you're getting a call up and we're going to do some probably combined stuff. I'm sure they're doing combined something or another. And you impress, then yeah, we can
Mhm.
bring you to a friendly. We got 4 of them. What's the worst that happens? Um, I'm glad they're taking an expanded approach. I like that they are prioritizing the U23 cycle. So I'm curious how they're going to break it down. Let's dive into these two guys because I think they're on the opposite ends of the spectrum, but also kind of maybe in the middle of it. Big move for U.S. soccer Twitter sphere, who have been eyeing this guy for a while. Xavier Gozo moved from Real Salt Lake to Crystal Palace. The 19-year-old just completed a $15 million transfer after a breakout MLS season, as well as a pretty good start to this season. He joins USMNT defender Chris Richards. Gozo is a wide player. I will not put him as a defender, as a wingback, or as a winger. I think he just plays wide. That's where he plays. I had the chance to watch him up close and personal when he did come here to play Atlanta, and the dude is electric. I will just say that straight up. The dude is electric. And to the point, I'm not debating this, but like a lot of people were saying he should have been called into the World Cup. I don't necessarily know if I agree with that, but I think it's fair to say he is a dude who, for me, deserves a call up to the senior national team despite him being 20 years old. So Thomas, this is what I'm saying is to me, the dude is ready to play on the senior national team, despite him not being, to use a phrase that maybe Caleb is familiar with, on the JV squad, right? Like he's a JV player, right? He's a probably sophomore if you want to get technical. But homeboy's good. Bring him up to the varsity,
Yeah, and I think when you think about this, how many players have we projected to be the next whatever, right? And they just don't even make it, right? I think that's always a problem. I'm sure other countries have that projections that fail, but it seems like the U.S. I don't know. I can remember a lot with the U.S. It's just like, we can go through the list of players that just haven't met that
We're
expectation,
starved
right?
for hope over here.
We are like, I mean, there's a ton of play. I mean, you could, maybe that's an article I'll write, right, someday about players that had the high hopes that just didn't produce anything, and maybe we're better evaluators now. I don't know. I don't think we've seen it quite recently, but there are some uh, issues I think with the way we hype players and maybe how they're impacted by that so-called hype. Um, and with social media nowadays, I think that's a little harder maybe to even for them to get away from seeing and hearing those sorts of expectations from them. And if you can handle the pressure, great. Clearly, Christian Pulisic is struggling with that professionally, and he's
Big eye roll from me on that.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, I want to be hopeful in that we do see these players, because I think we're there now, right? We're at the point where we need to start having these players integrated. They may not pan out, but we need to have them blended in with some of these players. They've got to be somewhat strategic. You can't bring the whole squad of 18-year-olds in. That's stupid. But you can bring a handful of these players in, especially to this camp where it's just friendlies, and bring them into the culture, bring them into see how it's going to work. I mean, I think I think he was talked to by Pochettino, and as long as he's healthy, I think he's in this camp. But U.S. Soccer in the past said, well, he's with a new club, he's got to adjust with them. I'll be interested to see how some of that crap goes down, and how Pochettino's what he'll allow. Because to me, some of that stuff is ridiculous. We have limited camps. We need these players in there if they're healthy. They don't even need to play. You just need them around, right? That's the one thing too. Like,
get out of here with the club. No, stop it. We pushed this back for this reason. That's
we did. Yeah,
and
right. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, look, we need these players.
What's he gonna do? Get comfortable at a club where all the other guys are off too?
Well, right.
Sorry,
I mean,
it's
everyone's on vacation. Right. Yeah, I would agree. And so, but U.S. Soccer tends to use that as an excuse to have favorable relationships.
We always get an excuse somehow.
But I don't know what they're benefiting from these so-called favorable relationships. By rule, if you're called into a camp and you're healthy, you need to be released for the camp for FIFA window. That's it. There's no question about that. So, we've got that culture came under Berhalter, and it was allowed to happen. And then I think these players got soft with that, and to me, it's no excuse. It's an honor to be called into camp. Take that opportunity, go to camp, and just enjoy it and take in the experience.
Yeah, Caleb, look, I think if we were to evaluate, and Thomas and I have, we lacked wide creative players, I think, or wide dynamic players at the World Cup. Again, I am not here for the debate of whether Gozo should have been there or not, because the dude had never made an appearance with the national team before then. Whatever. I'm just saying there were opportunities to call him in beforehand. So, but my question to you is, like, now that we can officially start a new cycle, like, I'm going to ask it differently, but don't we need to try out a dude who can, in my opinion, help us in a position of need?
Yeah, and I think you nailed it there. If you've got a position that's locked down, let's say right back right now with Alex Freeman, you don't need to be kicking tires on every young prospect who shows promise, because you're solid. Like, you've got a really good foundation there at that position. But wide, creative, attacking, playmaking players, I mean, you got Christian Pulisic. We saw Dest play kind of in a wide, weird-ish hybrid type roles, winger role, mid role. Weah didn't really feature much at the World Cup. You got to wonder where he's at in Pochettino's eyes. Congrats to him for getting the captain's armband. So, his club team likes him, but where is he at with Poch? And then after that, Brennan Aronson, Zendejas, Diego Luna. Like, it's not like we're sitting here blessed 40 guys deep like France at winger. We can't, like, you've got a kid who's doing this at the rate he's doing it at. I don't care what age he's at or how old he is. If he can help, he can help. And this kid, like you said, he is electric. He's not afraid to attack. He will take you on the dribble. He can go right. He can go left. There's so much to like about this kid. And I think he's done more than enough to get a look on the senior team, regardless of what his age is.
Yeah. Wrong button. Sorry. I get that Gozo is an under 23 age player. Totally. But this is just to me, the prime example of, but he is good enough to start playing for this national team now. To me, he's good enough. Like, if these were competitive matches, I'd be like, well, we got to get him in type of player. I do think the next player we're going to talk about is kind of in the like, I think he's good enough to be in the conversation. I do not think, to your point, Caleb, I don't know if he's displacing anyone on the starting lineup. And I'm not quite sure he's right now ready to break into a full, like, yeah, he's in the squad. But it's Kevin Sullivan. He is 16 years old. He's been playing pretty well for Philadelphia Union in his first season as like a full-on starter. I mean, dude's scoring goals, throwing punches, landing assists. It's great. Sorry, not throwing punches. He got that expunged because he did not throw a punch.
He was eating punches.
Yeah, he was eating that punch. Which, by the way, I said this on the morning show this week, but like, everyone's like mad at Yannick Wright for throwing a punch at a 16-year-old. Bro was on the soccer field. I don't give a damn how old you are. Like you're also, don't start the smoke if you don't want the smoke. How dare you punch a 16-year-old? What are we talking about here? The kid is a professional soccer player on the soccer field. I'm not saying he did it to himself. Like, don't punch people, but I'm like, this is not any different than like any other punch. Anyway,
Part of the job.
That's a whole nother conversation. 16 years old, definitely in the, I don't want to say this is a breakout season, but I think it's the first, like, you're a professional type of season for Kevin Sullivan. I do think that he is decidedly, for me, in the U23 camp. However, the question is, well, should he be in the senior camp? Because I don't know, man, he's kind of balling out right now, Caleb. Like, that's just kind of, he's balling out.
He is. I mean, that's the thing. It's not that he's, getting in and having a couple moments where he's showing some promise. No, like he's creating, he's scoring goals, he's getting dirty. Like, he is playing, not just out there for hype.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like his first call up, under it was Jim Curtin. They made him, he like officially beat Freddie Adu for like the youngest player coming in. That was clearly just get the kid in, right? Like he was less than 15, right? He was 14.
He was 14. Yeah.
Yeah.
Officially made his first.
Yeah. He's not coming in making things happen at that age. That's not the case now. He is a bona fide starter for an MLS side. And if he's doing it day in, day out for a professional men's club team, why can't he do it for a senior national team? Now, I'm with you. I don't think he is a must bring and start and all this kind of stuff. But if he's going to be a guy in 2030 that you're going to rely on, then again, to Thomas's point, why would you not go ahead and start getting him integrated now? So you don't have a big clash of personalities later on and try to make things happen. Have a big old 4-year-long onboard ramp.
I mean, he's already, obviously, Thomas, been signed by Manchester City for when he becomes an 18-year-old. I mean, before Edgar's kind of reporting that we will have the simultaneous U23 and senior national team camps, I personally was in the camp. Oh, too many camps. I was on the side of bring him in because I think you and I had talked about this. We wanted to see an expanded camp squad anyway because you had 4 matches, right? You might as well have 30. Why not? And so I was in the very much of like, whoops, call him in. Now I'm like, if he's not there, I will be driving 45 minutes down to Fayetteville and lighting someone on fire.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think the nature of what this window is. I mean, not every player is going to. I mean, players will be released early. There's going to be a number of different things on that. Bring them in. I mean, we look at some of the younger players that have ever gotten their first cap with, Freddie Adu was mentioned. Obviously, he was one of the, I think he might be the youngest. I'm not positive of that, but he's up there. Obviously, I'll shout out Steve Snow from, my generation, again, some of these players, didn't amount to much at the young ages, right? Pulisic, obviously, he was 17 and change, and we got Musa, we got Altidore, it was all in their teenage players, right? Beasley, Reyna, I think Weah maybe 18 or 19, but like you've got all these players, and I think now we're seeing more quality at this point of younger player coming in that I think it's less forced. I think some of the ones, if you look at the list, it's like it's forced because they're like, yeah, we got to get a guy in, as opposed to now it's like he's good. We want to see him, and I think there's gonna be, with this window here, we want to create a little bit of buzz too. Like we've got to. It's a little bit of a hangover still from the World Cup, and we like I to the point earlier. I don't want to see the same old guys come in just by themselves. It's like okay, play the same thing, but we want to see some fresh faces again. A handful of them, I'll be happy. Throw no Kaya Banks in there. Hopefully, figure out that situation, and maybe you can figure that out with him. But I think that's a window where you can do a lot, and there's a lot of good things, and that's exciting for those players to be part of and around players that are at the World Cup. And I think you can't, you can't miss that opportunity. I think here because then we get into Nations League in November, and then who gets in there, right? Is that a tournament you're looking to win? Clearly, you want to get to the final round of it, so you definitely got to take those matches seriously. So maybe half the players make it, 2 or 3, and you go from there. But yeah, I people want to see it, and I to me, I don't think there's any issue calling him into camp, whether you play him or do anything else. That's really based on if he earns it or not.
I'm also curious, and I don't want to have a full discussion on this until we know more, but it's possible that the structure of the camp could dictate this, and the fact that maybe you have the first 2 friendlies of camp, the pre-camp, and then the 2 friendlies are pretty strictly for the national team, the senior national team, while you have simultaneously the U23s going on. And then after that, you kind of have another regroup of evaluation and saying, okay, well, between the U23s and the senior national team, what's my next, 25 player squad for the next 2 friendlies against Canada and Mexico, which, look, as much as we like to decry CONCACAF competition, are better teams than Chile and Peru. Like they just are. I don't know. Maybe that's kind of what I think maybe what happened. We don't have any friendlies on the books yet for the U23s. I don't know if that'll even happen. So I'm just curious. But let's continue this conversation about should they come, should they not, with some other players in the player pool who are catching the eyes of a lot of folks in both soccer media, fans, and abroad. So I'm going to give a potential player, and you're going to respond with one of 3 things. One is buy, we're buying his stock. Second is I'm holding, which means not buying his stock. And the third is not yet. And that's if they're for a senior national team camp call-up. Now, you can give a slight explanation, but we're looking at this from a senior national team camp call-up. Because, again, we talked about Gozo. We think he should be in the national team camp regardless. But there's a lot of hype with Kevin, and we're like, well, look, if we can put him in the U23 camp, great. Let's just have him in there. So I'm going to start with Thomas on this one because he's from your neck of the woods, if you will. It's Peyton Miller, a young, I don't know what position he plays or doesn't play for New England Revolution, but he's a defender but can play at the wing. I don't know. Your thoughts on Peyton Miller? Are you buying, are you holding, or are you not yet doing anything?
I'm buying on him. I think he's a left wing back, left wing. I mean, it's definitely an area of need for the national team. I think it's perfect timing for him. I think he should get called in this camp personally. And I think he's a player that, in 4 years he's going to be 22. Or, you know what I mean? So get a look at him now, bring him in, see what he can do, pair him with, Robinson a little bit, get those 2 talking and working together and see how they can, build each other up, because I think that's a huge area of need for this national teams on that left side. So you've got to see what you have in this pool, because we were looking and looking and looking and looking, and I'm not sure we even had a backup to Anthony Robinson at the World Cup if you're really logically looking at it.
I don't know.
I mean, other than
Max Harpton has grown on me. Max has grown on me, but
how many minutes did he get? How many minutes did he get in the World Cup? Max, did he play?
Not a lot. Not a lot. He got a couple.
No, and I will say Max is growing. In general, I think he got. I mean, he's defensively he's god awful, and he's definitely a winger than a wing back. But we just need to have the depth there. Players that we've hoped, like Caleb Wiley, which to me I think he's a player that we still could see in this cycle. Honestly. John Tolkien to be determined, but I think his time is slowly starting to run out.
Mm.
It didn't line up for them, and I think now
Yeah.
Peyton Miller has showed a lot over the last couple of years for the Revolution. So I'm buying.
All right, Caleb, real quick, Peyton Miller, buying, selling, or
Yeah, same exact
waiting?
reason. I think we talked about it. There's no reason to call up guys for positions that you have a solid like center mid. I mean, we've got Wes Tyler, Malik Tillman. I mean, like we've got guys there. You know, you got Anthony Robinson, and you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
we've tried Weah there, we've tried Dest there. So yeah, I think if
Okay.
there's a guy showing some promise, you call him in for the left back.
I'm buying. I'm calling him in for the senior national team camp. Also knowing that he very well is eligible for the U23s. All right, next one is Julian Hall, the forward from New York Red Bulls. Kind of plays on the left, but I think will be projected more to be a central striking figure in the future. Caleb, buy, sell, or waiting on Julian Hall for the senior national team call up?
I think it's a place we can just kind of hold right now. I mean, you've got Balogun who has locked the position down. You've got Pepe who isn't bad by any stretch. I don't think he had the greatest World Cup, but it is what it is. He's still a guy who can play. Haji Wright, we've got guys there. I don't think you need to rush an 18-year-old kid. Although I do think he can hold his own. I think he's the youngest player in MLS history for a hat trick. Like clearly the kid can play. He can play against adults. But again, I don't think we need to rush these kids. And to Thomas's point earlier, we had to bring in guys over the last decade because it was just kind of like a lost generation. We had to bring in these kids. We don't have to do that now. We can let them progress and mature. So I'm going to hold.
Thomas, buying or selling Julian Hall in the senior national team camp for this upcoming window?
Yeah, I think I'd hold as well. I think strikers, you want to make sure that they're, you don't want to set them back. But I think he's definitely one to watch, and a player that obviously if he continues at the trajectory, which he is, again in the second half of the cycle for sure after the Olympics, or even before then, it all depends how he's playing. But he's definitely getting his opportunities for sure.
9 goals, 3 assists in 21 matches in the MLS season. I mean, look, the stats are good. I am calling him into the U23 camp. I think that is a great spot for him to be the 18-year-old. All right, next one. And I think this one might be, I don't know if we'll be split. We might be in a consensus. Audrey Mehmeti, otherwise known as Sanjay Sajunta Kumar calls him Rodri Mehmeti, which I'm here for it. 17-year-old central defensive midfielder for New York Red Bulls. I'm gonna lead this off. I'm being bold, man. I'm buying. Bring him into senior national team camp, especially if Johnny Cardoso is not able to make it in. Why not? We don't have a dude who can be a playmaker like this at the 6. And the more I've watched him, I don't think anything he does is a holy cow, that's beautiful. Everything he does is crisp, it's clean, and it's simple. And I think I'm just saying, I'm being bold. I'm calling him in. I'm buying. I'm buying it. Thomas, what are you doing with
yeah, this is a tough one. I mean, I'm definitely on the fence on this. I think you might have sold me on the buy on this because there is something a little bit unique about him that I think is needed in that position right now to maybe push some of the players around him. He's certainly, Tyler Adams is definitely. He's not old or by any means, but I mean, his consistency.
He ain't gonna be young come the next World Cup.
Right. So to me, I think
old.
Yeah. To me, I think I want to see some exciting, dynamic players out there, and again, pairing him with these younger, veterans now of the national team, I think would be a good opportunity for him to get his feet wet.
Yeah. So I'm with you. Like, as far as I'm super pumped about this kid. I love the way he plays. He says he molds his game after Sergio Busquets. I love everything about him.
Give me
But
more. I love it.
I'm gonna hold only because he is 17, and I think putting like there's some kids, and again, I don't know him. I don't know like he doesn't seem like a cocky kid. So if he
I
does
don't know,
get
man. He's
caught
got
up
the
in
really low socks. That shows to me he's kind of cocky.
I just
He is a low sock king though. That dude is like, I'm like, holy cow, you wearing shin guards?
I just don't want to put unnecessary pressure if we don't have to. And
Mm,
with Musa, if Musa's going to be playing as a six, do we bring him back in? If he's playing an actual center mid position for Milan, which is what it looks like he's doing, and
God.
the reports are that he's actually a part of Amram's plans. So yeah, you've got Adams. West played deep. I just don't think it's a position of need quite yet, even though I would absolutely love to see it, if that makes sense.
But you would bring him to the U23 side of things.
Oh my gosh, yes. I'm so high on this kid. I
Yeah.
love this kid.
Next one, going down south to Orlando City. It's Justin Ellis, forward for the purple team, as we like to call him here in Atlanta. Another one who has found the back of the net a good bit this season for Orlando. What do you think, Caleb? Are you buying or selling, or are you waiting on Mr. Justin Ellis?
I'm gonna hold on him as well. I think same thing as Julian Hall. I like the kid a lot. I think he's a really good playmaker at that center for position. I just don't think you need to push it. So again, let him
Okay.
just rise along the natural ranks, and we don't need to force anything there. But a lot to like with that kid.
6 goals, 8 assists in 24 total games between the first team and the second team down in Orlando. Thomas, your thoughts on Justin Ellis?
Yeah, I think I would hold on him
Okay.
for now. I think strikers are again. I want to build that depth. I want them to kind of continue being successful, and I mean when strikers are hot, we know how well they can do. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna hold for now.
I do like that he would project to be one of the older players in a U23 squad. Like he'll be 21 by the time, I think 21 for the next summer. Not like old, but like I think that might be good. So I'm sticking him in the U23s for now. And again, a theme of we got Balogun, we got Pepe, we got guys I think as strikers that we feel somewhat comfortable with. All right, this one I think we're all going to have a consensus on. 19-year-old center back playing for Augsburg in the Bundesliga. Thomas, are you calling up Nokai Banks for the senior national team spot this summer or this fall?
I mean, I absolutely call him up.
You would have called him up for the World Cup.
Right, absolutely. I mean, I think we do have to find out if because to me, this is a double window. Be great for him to be integrated into a long window, a long camp to see what it's all about, and then he can make his decision. Because the stupid back and forth that was going on, I get it from his perspective, but at some point, we have to start looking towards the different pieces of this cycle. I mean, to me, he's a player. I'm all in on him, but he has to be all in too, right? And I think that's the thing about dual nationals. And I was on the fence for a while. Not on the fence. I was in a complete camp to say, look, cap them all, right? But then there is some validity to say, look, do you want to play for the national team? Do you want to have that? And we have many dual nationals that played in this World Cup that wanted to be there, played hard, and to me were great for the national team. And I want players that want to be here. And I think if he wants to be here, bring him in. Let's do it. Give him a starting spot. Let him figure it out. Figure out who him and Richards can do what they need to do for the next 4 years heading into the World Cup.
Caleb, your thoughts on Mr. Nokai Banks?
Same exact thing. I'm calling the crap out of it. If he wants to be here, come on, dude. You are plugged in, starting right there next to Chris Richards. But if not, I mean, at this point, if he turns it down again, I think it's like he's Germany or nothing. You know, it'll be what, the second official time that we know that he was called
Yeah.
and another turn down. So yeah, I mean, if he wants to, come on, dude, we need you, man.
I can respect him not wanting to make a decision at 18 or at
He is
19 for
young.
his first World Cup. I can.
Yeah.
I do think I'm with y'all. Like, I think the conversation for Noah Kai needs to be one of two things. It needs to be truthful. And if I'm the talent evaluator, I would say, hey, we think you will be a pillar of our team for the next 4 years and at the 2030 World Cup. I think that is, if you truly feel that, say that. And we would like to call you into camp, but this is a trial. Yes, but we're calling you into camp with the expectation that you are now part of the U.S. national team. And not say that you have to force it, because you can come in and be like, hey man, this sucked. I hated it. And that's fine. Like, I'm not going to force a guy into that, but I don't think this is a, hey, come in and see what it feels like. This is we're calling you in because you're a member of this team. Know that we are going to play you if you perform well enough in camp, and don't leave any room for, I'm just here to see how it is. That's just where I am on Noah Kai. All right, I'm going to lump these two together because they're not the same, but they're similar. Mathis Albert and Cole Campbell. Now, Albert is 17. Campbell is 20. Campbell is now at a second Bundesliga club to play, I should say. He's on loan. And then Albert is still at Dortmund, kind of in the reserves, the youth team, getting some shouts for the senior team when it comes time for cup competitions. They both kind of play the same position, which is a wide half space guy. Thomas, Albert and Campbell, what are you feeling on them? Give me an answer for both of them.
I mean, I think Campbell is an Olympic player. I think at this point he needs to come back and earn it, in my opinion. We haven't seen enough consistency from him. Maybe he earns it later, but I'm passing on him right now. And Albert, I'm probably holding on, but I think Albert's not getting enough minutes either. So I think, he's going to be held only because I'd love to see him in camp, but I just don't feel he's quite there yet. We want to see a little bit more production, I think, for these players. And
you're going to make every USMNT Twitter head person Euro snob on USMNT Twitter mad.
Well, just based on what he's doing a little bit. Again, the reality is you can only call a few of these guys in, right? I mean, you're not going to call all of them in. And I think, I just think both have a little bit more to prove. And I think and Albert has a lot more runway. I think Campbell, we need to see more. And I think he maybe fit in better with the Olympic group. And show a little leadership. To your point, he'll be an older player on that squad, and I think that would be helpful for that group, and he can earn it there.
Caleb, your thoughts on Mathis Albert and Cole Campbell?
Yeah, I mean, positions of need. Again, we talked about the lack of depth for wide creative players, attacking players. So I would love to bring them in, but to Thomas' point, you can't bring them all. I agree. I would like to see a little bit more from Cole Campbell, but with the lack of depth, I'd say let's call him in, give him an opportunity. He's 20. He just moved to, like I said, he got a loan where he's suspected to actually play. And if he does well, then fantastic. If not, then he's a U23 guy. I think the Olympic shout was a fantastic call right there, Thomas. And then Mathis Albert, man, he's electric. 17. I mean, you look at Cabin, he's 16, and we're saying he should probably get an opportunity. I mean, if Mathis Albert is doing the same thing in Bundesliga, a harder league at 17, why not? So I would like to probably see him in there. Again, not because, he's 17 and he's super good, but more because he is super good at a position of need.
Albert was on the bench for Dortmund's loss in the DFB Pokal Super Cup or whatever it's called, the German Super Cup. Cole Campbell started and uh, played all 90 in Elversberg's win over Duisburg. I don't think that's the Duisburg that I'm familiar with either. I don't know. They're all weird names over there. Personally, I am leaving both of them at home, especially from a senior national team standpoint. I think Albert needs to play soccer at a professional level, and until I see that, and this is being really harsh, but until I see that, I don't have any need to bring him in to any like U23 or above camp. He's definitely in my U20 like radar for the next U20 World Cup. Like that 100% is where he is in my book. But I do think that there is a level of like, you need to show that you can be a professional soccer player before I call you into a national team camp. Just flat out, even at the U23 level. That could change by, I don't know, 2 weeks from now if he's playing. I don't know. I'm just saying that right now. All right. Last one we're going to go with, and this is an MLS guy, Nico Shakiris, who has had an interesting career. He had an injury that kind of set him back a little bit, but he's only 21. Talk about a guy who could be a very senior member of a U23 squad. He is a attacking-ish mid for the San Jose Earthquakes. I would put him at the attacking mid, but he can kind of play anywhere more in an advanced midfield role. Caleb, what are your thoughts on Mr. Nico Shakiris?
I like him. I've liked him for a while. I think he's a tidy, clean player. Clean, I mean, just doesn't make a ton of mistakes. He's a good passer of the ball. He'll get on the score sheet every now and then. Like, he's a solid player, but I think you kind of put it out there. He would be an older statesman for the Olympic team. I think that's probably a really good spot for him. He was a really important piece for the U20s for a little while there. He's aged out of that. So keep on moving up the ranks, and I'd love to continue to see him just take the next step after next step after next step, and then eventually he might get to the senior national team. But I don't think there's a reason to rush him right now, again, because I think we're fairly solid at center mid.
Thomas, your thoughts on Shakiris?
Yeah, I think he's a slow burn type of guy. I think he fits in probably, better in terms of earning some stripes with the Olympic side of it. I think he's having a good season this year for sure so far. But I just think he's not, right there. He's kind of one of those like, question, De La Torre type players. Like he does things, does them tactically, but isn't like overly dynamic in terms of how he does things and consistently. I mean, I think he can be relied on in certain situations, but I think we want to see a little bit more excitement. I don't think this really gets me too excited for that. But yeah, I think he's definitely a player that I think is going to be considered along the way, but not for this window.
Yeah, I think the field is crowded at central midfield, and I don't think we need him right now. So I'm gonna leave it for him. All right. Speaking of leaving it, we're gonna run into our final game called Love It or Leave It. I'm gonna give you 3 hot takes, and you're gonna either say I love it or you're gonna leave it. Kind of like Love It or List It if you ever watch HGTV and need to criticize people for making terrible decisions on their house. All right, first round, Caleb. Xavier Gozo will be a starter for the USMNT at the Gold Cup. Nah, that's probably not a great way to phrase it. Starter for the USMNT come qualifying by 2027.
God, that's a tough one. Not because he can't do it, but that would mean that you've got, Pulisic, Weah, Dest, depending on how Poch wants to play it, means one of those has fallen out of favor because he's going to play on the right or the left, probably most likely on the right. So is he beating Dest out for that spot? Is he beating Way out for that spot? That's a tough call. Dang it. I'll say, you know what? I'm going to go all hype. Let's go love it.
All right. You love it. Thomas, love it or leave it. Gozo's starting for us come qualification cycle of 2027.
I guess it depends how Pochettino, frames it. If he shows it's one of his guys, I would say he's probably in there. But I think we're going to see a little bit of why I wanted a different manager in this cycle is because you start to the players that are in your stock, you kind of stick by them a little bit more than you should, and giving certain players opportunities. If he doesn't show well, and with the chances he gets, I think he's gonna stay with what he's comfortable with, and so I think I'm leaving it.
Interesting. Okay. I personally am neither loving it or leaving it. It's my show. I can make that decision. I don't think you can say he'll be a starter, but I think he's like a guy. He's absolutely a guy who's coming off the bench. It might start. I don't know, depending on, if it's just hey, dude, like we want to rotate a little bit. So that's kind of where I'm at with him. Is I don't know if starter is the best way to say it, but I think he will be a key contributor for the national team come that time.
Agreed.
So I'm gonna like it. Next question. Thomas, Pochettino should bring a primarily U23 squad to the Gold Cup next summer to help them prepare for the Olympics. Love it or leave it?
Leave it. No, you have to. This U23 is a separate competition with a separate coach, and they need to do it in that nature. It's the competition for the Gold Cup is not a preparation for the Olympics. They can find their own ways to do that. I don't think that's fair to Steve Sharonlow, who's going to be coaching the Olympic team. I think that group needs to have the continuity with the coaching staff and the players that are going to be part of it. And personally, it's a step down. It's, in my opinion, the players that we've mentioned today, fall kind of B, C level talents in this, in my mind, in the player pool, where the Olympic team is likely going to be, a combination of a C, D type level of depth in the player pool, in my opinion, in what we've seen in general. And I'm not saying that, as a knock on those players, because I think that's in the 40 or 50 player consideration for in the pool, and considering they had 70 players they were looking at last cycle, that's not too bad. So to me, I want to win it. I want the Olympics to be a successful event. I just don't think that's what they should do.
Caleb, love or leave the idea of bringing a U23 squad to the Gold Cup next summer?
Yeah, I'm going to say leave it as well. I think there are definitely differences between Poch and Trundolo, and there could be, missed or mixed signals between the two. I think you let Steve do his thing with his core. Now, that said, I do think there'll probably be some carryover, I guess you could say, between the two rosters. Like there'll be a few guys that end up playing on the Olympic squad that will probably make it into the Gold Cup, but I don't think it's going to be a overhauled full U23. Yeah.
Okay. Listeners, this was my question that I posted in a chat because I was randomly thinking about it one day. I'm leaving it because while this may have been my idea, you have the Pan American Games, and I think that is really your lead up. I know it's not an official window, but again, this is where you're having those conversations with clubs now, saying, "Hey, we think this guy is an Olympic squad player for us in 2028," and that means they're probably getting taken in 2027 as well. And if they can't, if they're like absolutely not, but we will give them for 28, then you can bring them to the Gold Cup. I think the Gold Cup will be a slightly younger, newer squad anyway, just because we know Christian Pulisic can't play a Gold Cup. That's just beneath him. So I think we'll have a lot of guys who fall into that category there, but I am also leaving this. So yeah. All right. Last question, and this kind of plays into this. Caleb, FIFA should make the Olympics and U20 World Cups mandatory release windows. Love it or leave it.
I love it. I don't think it'll happen. Yeah, I mean, I feel like we lose so much. We miss so much. Like you look at the U20 CONCACAF championship, that it wasn't an official window, so they didn't have to release. And we were missing so many guys. Like we had to play Mexico in the final. And I mean, you could go through and name 5 or 6 guys that are in the U20 bracket, but couldn't show up because they were blocked from playing from their clubs. Which I get it, I understand. The clubs want them; they're meaningful players. But as a fan, dude, yeah, like I want all these kids to be released.
Thomas? Yeah, I would love it too. And I'll double down a little bit on this too. I think what I'd actually really like to see is maybe a little continuity, because one of the U20 World Cup is the year before the Olympics, and maybe you make some sort of like a way for, maybe you drop the age or something. I don't know, maybe, because I just think you could build off of each tournament, could build off each other. I think FIFA does a really poor job with promoting the Olympics, even though it's not a FIFA event. But to me, like, they want all this money, all this hype. Like, to me, there's an opportunity to get your eyes on your product, whether you want that responsibility or whatever it is. I don't know what the disassociation has been with that, but there's definitely I think there's a missed opportunity a little bit with that. And I think in doing this, you would definitely get more eyes and interest into that. Obviously, 84 in the United States is something we've heard about all summer, but that got the real interest of folks to come out and watch soccer in this nation. And I think it's a missed opportunity a little bit. And actually the decrease of numbers for the men's tournament, which I think we've discussed in the past, is also kind of taking away from it a little bit, from 16 to 12, I believe now it is. So I think that's unfortunate. Hopefully it gets reviewed along the way, but I think it would be great to have those players released and to promote them, right? I think it's important. And this is, as much as it's important to play for your national team, I think it's also important to play in an Olympics for your nation.
Yeah.
I think it has 100%. The same sort of pride to do that, especially when you're hosting it as well, right? So that's maybe a consideration the clubs will make, maybe not. I don't know the history behind how other nations have been treated by the clubs that are hosting the Olympics for, the football, as they called in the Olympics, obviously. Rosters, we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, I'd be all for it. Absolutely.
I love this. I think there is a caveat that I want to make, and that's, I think a simple thing would, yes, you make the Olympics a mandatory release window, because to your point, Thomas, I think this helps FIFA, whether they like to admit it or not, because it builds hype for the next World Cup. Like 100%. You'd be like, oh, this dude balled out in the Olympics, hype for the next World Cup. I think the caveat I'm making is, I think FIFA, now that we have this 4-week window in the September-October timeframe, you make the U20 World Cup in that window. It's obviously going to last a little bit longer, but that means you say, hey, look, this is the U20 World Cup window. We're putting it basically a week or 2 weeks before each end of it. I forget exactly how long it is, but that way you say you have to release, but clubs aren't really missing players for that long. And that is a little bit of a compromise, but I think that I think FIFA is, if FIFA wants to make more money off of their properties, which does seem to be the underlying thing that Gianni, outside of his insatiable greed and stupidness, I think the reality is they see the opportunity to make money off of international tournaments, right? That's why we had the expanded Club World Cup. That's why we sold tickets for $1 bajillion to the World Cup. If you can make the U20 World Cup almost as important, and I'm not saying it will be, but like make it a big thing so that broadcasters and media partners will spend more money for it. I think that's a really good way to bring more money in, but also make it so that the clubs who are training and bringing up a lot of these U20 players don't feel as icky about releasing them because they're not losing them for as long as many matches as they normally would. So that would be my caveat. And, as much as we love summer tournaments, I think the September-October window is fun for an international tournament like that. And, why not? That's just where I'm at with it. So that would be my thing. But I do think if you moved it into an international window of some sort, that would make a lot more sense for the U20 World Cup. All right, gentlemen, we have gone through another episode of Soccer for Us. We have another guest, a new guest, a returning guest that joined us. So, Caleb, thank you for coming back. We're glad to have you. I know you are a busy, busy man doing all the soccer things, but you can follow Caleb on Twitter at USMNT Corner, and he's got some great takes. He has some great questions. Thanks for being here, Caleb.
Yeah, thanks for having me again, man. It's good to be back.
It's good to see you and hear you again. And also make sure you follow Thomas on Twitter at USKeeper and follow his work at chasingacup.com. Thomas, anything coming down the pipeline from you?
Yeah, I just submitted it today. Well, today being Monday, on this very topic. So there's some other information in there, a little bit more caveat to it. It's not an overly long piece, but yeah, right in this line with this topic. So the timing is perfect on this. So enjoy, and I'll have other things coming soon.
All right, and again, chasingacup.com is where you can find him for that. You can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Soccer for Us Pod, and catch me every Monday morning on the Soccer Down Here morning show. Thanks everyone for listening. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me. I'm Bart. I'm out.